The footsteps echoing through the hallway of the third-floor medical ward at Boston General Hospital told the story of a busy morning. Emily Harris, dressed in her white coat, was mentally organizing her schedule for the day as she made her rounds to each patient's room. She treasured the time she spent with each individual patient. "Good morning, Mr. Johnson. How are you feeling today?" Emily spoke gently to the elderly male patient while taking his blood pressure. Her smile carried the reassurance that comes from years of experience. All the patients found comfort in Emily's warm personality. Even when fatigue from the night shift accumulated in her body, Emily never cut corners. It was her belief to always do her best, both for her family and for her patients. Last night she had worked another 12-hour night shift, and when she returned home at dawn, her husband Michael and son Noah were still sleeping. She had met Michael in college, and they got married. Her husband, who worked at an IT company, had been working from home more frequently lately, spending longer hours at the house. Their son Noah had just started elementary school and was doing his best to adapt to his new environment. "Mom, don't I need a lunch today?" While preparing breakfast, Noah asked innocently. Emily hid her fatigue from the night shift while stroking her son's hair. "You have school lunch today, so it's fine. Make sure you eat properly." "Okay." "Mom, will you come home early today?" Noah's clear eyes reflected pure love for his mother. Emily felt a small pain deep in her heart. Being a nurse was a job that carried the heavy responsibility of caring for patients' lives. With frequent night shifts and emergency calls, it often meant limited time to spend with family. "I'll try my best to come home as early as possible. Do your homework with Dad, okay?" Michael was holding a coffee cup, staring at his laptop screen. "Good morning, honey. You must be tired from last night." Michael turned around and smiled as he always did. "Thank you. What time are you planning to come home today?" "Well, I should finish around evening, so I think I can be home around 6. I'll pick up Noah too." While feeling reassured by her husband's kindness, Emily hadn't missed the recent changes. There were odd moments when he answered phone calls, and he had been going out more frequently late at night. But she told herself it was probably work-related. After finishing their morning preparations, on the way to take Noah to school, her son waved his hand and said, "Mom, let's go on a picnic this weekend, all 3 of us." "That sounds wonderful. Let's ask Dad about it too." Emily warmed her heart at her son's innocent suggestion, realizing anew the importance of time spent together as a family of 3. On the surface, they seemed to be living a happy family life. However, her husband's subtle changes and an inexplicable sense of unease had planted a small seed of anxiety in the corner of her heart. When she arrived at the hospital, Emily returned to her role as a nurse. At 2 p.m. at Boston General Hospital, the medical ward was entering its busiest time of the day. Emily was preparing medications while checking patient charts. Her movements in the white uniform were efficient, showing the effectiveness that years of experience had cultivated. "Nurse Harris, Mrs. Chen in room 302 is calling for you." Sarah, a young nurse, called out to her. Emily lifted the medication tray and smiled. "I understand. I'll go right away." When she entered room 302, Mrs. Chen was sitting on her bed, gazing out the window. She had undergone heart surgery 3 weeks ago and was recovering well, but she felt anxious about her hospital stay away from her family. "Mrs. Chen, what can I do for you?" Emily pulled a chair next to the bed and sat down at the same eye level as the patient. This was a habit she had maintained since her younger days. She believed that to give patients a sense of security, it was important to first think from their perspective. "Well, my daughter said she would come tomorrow, but will she really come?" Anxiety seeped through Mrs. Chen's voice. Emily gently took the patient's hand. Of course she will. Your daughter is worried about you, so she'll definitely come. Until then, we'll take good care of you, so please don't worry. A look of relief spread across the patient's face. Emily treasured moments like these. She believed that not only medical technology, but also emotional care was an important role of a nurse. Thank you. Having you here gives me strength. When she left the room, Emily headed to the next patient's room. Dr. Wilson, whom she met in the hallway, called out to her. Emily, how did that case go? If you're referring to Mrs. Chin, she's becoming more emotionally stable. Her daughter is scheduled to visit tomorrow, so I think that will speed up her recovery even more. Your approach with patients is always wonderful. How's your family? Has your son gotten used to school? Dr. Wilson was a veteran doctor at the hospital who highly valued Emily's work. He was also a kind person who cared about her family. Thank you for asking. Noah has made friends at his new school and seems to enjoy going every day. My husband is working from home and helping take care of our son, which is really helpful. Emily answered with a smile, but deep in her heart, she was concerned about her husband's recent changes. However, she never showed her private worries at work. At 4 p.m., Emily took her break. She was relaxing in the staff room with her colleague Linda over coffee. Emily, you're always so kind to patients, but you must be the perfect wife at home too. Linda was a close friend she had known for over 10 years. They had been friends since nursing school and knew each other's families well. Perfect. Not at all. I'm always rushing around, and I cut corners with housework all the time. Emily answered with a wry smile. In fact, on days after night shifts, she was often too exhausted to properly prepare dinner. But Michael is an understanding husband, so he must be helping you out, right? Yes, he is. Since he's been working from home more lately, he's been taking care of Noah too, which is really helpful. Emily answered this way, but she was remembering her husband's recent behavior. It seemed like their conversations weren't as lively as before. But she told herself it was probably work stress. I'm jealous. My husband leaves all the housework to me. The kids are grown now, so it's easier, but you still have little Noah, so it must be tough. It is challenging, but having my family gives me strength. I also get energy from my patients. When break time ended, Emily returned to the ward. It was time for the evening medication distribution, and she went around to each patient. How are you feeling today? Mr. Smith was hospitalized for diabetes treatment. He had no family and no visitors, but Emily paid special attention to him. Emily, thank you again today. Having you here makes this hospital brighter. Mr. Smith's words warmed Emily's heart. Words of gratitude from patients had a magical power to blow away any fatigue. At 6 p.m., Emily's shift ended. While changing clothes in the locker room, she reflected on the day. Thinking about the patient's smiles, casual conversations with colleagues, and the family waiting at home warmed her heart. While driving, Emily thought about preparing dinner. She would make something simple with the ingredients in the refrigerator. Maybe hamburgers that Noah liked. Michael would eat anything without complaining, which was helpful. As she approached home, Emily's heart swelled with anticipation. Her son's innocent smile and her husband's kind welcome home were waiting for her. No matter how tired she was, her family's presence was her support. When she stopped at a traffic light, Emily checked her cell phone. There was no message from Michael. Lately, it seemed like his contact with her had decreased, but she thought he must be busy. The next afternoon, peaceful time flowed through the medical ward at Boston General Hospital. Emily was organizing patient charts while preparing for tomorrow's night shift. Autumn sunlight streamed through the windows, and the gentle voices of patients echoed in the hallway. "Nurse Harris, Mr. Johnson in room 304 would like to start preparing for discharge." Young Nurse Sarah called out. Emily smiled and closed the chart. "I understand. I'll go right away." On the way to the room, Emily's cell phone vibrated in her pocket. Looking at the screen, she saw it was a call from home. Thinking it might be from Michael, she decided to prioritize the patient's care. The phone stopped ringing quickly. After finishing Mr. Johnson's discharge procedures, Emily returned to the nurse's station. Her cell phone rang again. This time the ringtone continued. Looking at the screen, she saw it was again from her home number. The moment Emily answered the phone, her heart almost stopped. "Mom." It was Noah's voice. However, it wasn't her son's usual bright voice. It was a voice trembling with fear, crying out. "Noah. What's wrong? What happened?" Emily's hands began to shake. Her colleagues around her turned around with worried looks. "Mom. Dad is dead. There's blood everywhere. He's not moving." Her son's scream echoed through the hospital hallway. Emily's mind went blank. She couldn't understand what was happening. "Noah, calm down. Mom is coming home now." "Where are you? Are you at home?" "Yes. Dad is collapsed in the living room. There's so much blood. I'm scared, Mom." Noah's crying could be heard through the phone. Tears began to overflow from Emily's eyes. It's okay. Mom is coming home right now, so don't move from there." "Did you call the police?" "I don't know." "Mom, come home quickly." "I'm coming right now, so stay there. Don't touch Dad, okay?" The phone hung up. Emily gripped her cell phone with trembling hands, her vision blurred with tears. "Emily, what's wrong?" Her colleague Linda rushed over. Emily tried to answer with an incoherent voice, but she was breathless and couldn't speak. "At home, my son is alone." "Calm down. What happened?" "My husband seems to have collapsed. My son is alone at home. I have to go home right now." Emily ran to her locker. Her hands were shaking as she took off her uniform and changed into her street clothes. "Emily, are you okay to drive? Should I take you?" Linda asked worriedly, but Emily shook her head. "I'm fine. Thank you. I'll contact you soon." She ran to the hospital parking lot and started the car engine. Her hands were shaking so much it was difficult to turn the key. She couldn't see ahead through her tears. Her son's voice, trembling with fear, kept repeating in her head. Please be safe." Emily drove while crying. She covered the usual 20-minute journey in 15 minutes. She couldn't think about red lights or speed limits. All she could think about was getting back to her family. On the way, she called 911. She could hear the operator's calm voice, but it didn't register in Emily's mind. She gave the address and requested an ambulance. "Ma'am, please drive carefully. An ambulance and police car are on their way." When she parked in front of her house, Emily noticed an eerie silence. The ambulance hadn't arrived yet. The lights were on in the house windows, but she couldn't sense any human presence. "Noah! It's Mom!" Emily shouted as she opened the front door. However, there was no response. "Noah! Where are you?" The moment she rushed into the living room, Emily gasped. There were indeed bloodstains on the floor. However, Michael was nowhere to be seen. Noah was nowhere to be seen either. Noah. Michael. She ran around the entire house. The bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, no one was anywhere. Noah's toys were scattered around, and Michael's laptop was open on the table. But both of them had disappeared. Emily's knees gave out. She sat down on the living room floor, unable to accept reality. The bloodstains were definitely there. But her family was nowhere to be found. The sound of a car door closing came from the front entrance. The police officers had arrived. "Are you Mrs. Harris?" "We received a report." 2 police officers entered the house. Emily answered in a trembling voice. "I got a call from my son. He said my husband had collapsed. But no one is here. The blood is there." One of the police officers began examining the bloodstains. The other questioned Emily. "What time was the call from your son?" 30 minutes ago. He was crying, saying Dad was dead. I said I'd come home right away, but where did they go?" The sound of an ambulance siren could be heard. But it was too late. There was no patient to transport anywhere. "Mrs. Harris, please calm down. Do you have photos of your husband and son? We'll start a search immediately." Emily took out her cell phone with trembling hands and showed them family photos. On the screen were the 3 of them smiling happily. It was a photo taken a week ago. "Judging from the amount of these bloodstains, there's a possibility of serious injury. We'll also contact nearby hospitals." The police officer's words plunged Emily's heart into despair. Her son's fear-filled voice wouldn't leave her ears. What had happened to her husband, and where was her beloved son? Emily continued answering police questions in the empty house. Neighbors began gathering too, all watching with concern. However, Michael and Noah's whereabouts were completely unknown. The night was long and filled with anguish. Emily spent the night at the police station being questioned, unable to sleep at all until morning. The search for Michael and Noah continued all night, but no leads were found. "Mrs. Harris, let me confirm once more. Were there any recent changes in your husband's behavior?" Detective Rodriguez continued questioning in a gentle tone. She was a veteran detective with over 20 years of experience, having handled numerous family disappearance cases. Recently, something seemed a bit off about the way he answered phone calls. "But I thought it was work stress." Emily was desperately trying to remember with her fatigue-clouded mind. Specifically, what kind of behavior? When the phone rang, he would immediately go to another room to talk. He used to talk normally in the living room before. Detective Rodriguez nodded while taking notes. "Anything else that concerned you?" "He started going out late at night more frequently. He said it was for work meetings." At 7 a.m., the detective's cell phone rang. Emily watched the detective's expression with hope. "This is Rodriguez." "I see, understood. I'll head there immediately." After hanging up, the detective turned to Emily. "Good news. Your son has been found. He was found at St. Mary Elementary School playground. He's not injured." Tears overflowed from Emily's eyes. "Noah? Really?" "Yes. He's currently being examined at the hospital. Let's go see him right away." When they arrived at the hospital, Emily found her son and rushed to him. Noah was sitting on a small bed, wrapped in a blanket. His face was dirty with tears, but he wasn't injured. "Mom!" Her son jumped into his mother's arms. Emily hugged Noah tightly while crying. "It's okay now. Mom is here. Mom, I was scared. Dad. Dad." Noah began speaking in a trembling voice. With the doctor and detective watching, her son slowly began telling yesterday's events. Yesterday afternoon, Dad was fighting with someone on the phone. He was yelling loudly. Do you know who he was talking to? Detective Rodriguez asked gently. I heard a woman's voice. Dad said, it's over now. Emily's heart began racing. What happened next? After a while, that woman came to the house. Dad told me to stay in my room, so I was upstairs. But I heard loud voices downstairs, and I got scared. Noah continued while clinging to his mother. So I was watching from the top of the stairs, and that woman pushed Dad, and Dad fell down. He hit his head on the corner of the table, and blood came out. Emily gasped. What happened to that woman? Dad stopped moving, and that person panicked too. Then she carried Dad to the car. I was scared and hiding. Why did you call Mom? Because Dad wasn't moving, I thought he died. After that person left, I called Mom. But then that person came back right away and took me too. The detectives looked at each other at Noah's testimony. What was that woman like? She had blonde hair and was tall. She called Dad Mike. Memory fragments began connecting in Emily's mind. There was a woman named Jessica, a former colleague of Michael's company. She was blonde and tall, and Emily had occasionally seen her at company gatherings. What happened after that? I cried the whole time in the car. But at night, that person dropped me off near the school. She said, if you want to see Mom, wait until morning. The detective's cell phone rang again. This time it was a long conversation. After hanging up, the detective showed a serious expression. Mrs. Harris, your husband has been found. He's been taken to Massachusetts General Hospital. He's regained consciousness, but he's seriously injured. Emily felt a mixture of relief and worry. Can I see Michael? Yes. However, police questioning will also be necessary. In the hospital's intensive care unit, Emily was reunited with Michael. Her husband's head was wrapped in bandages, and his face was pale. Emily. Michael's weak voice could be heard. Michael, what happened? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Tears flowed from Michael's eyes. I'll tell you everything about Jessica. I can't hide it anymore. Detective Rodriguez began taking records. What was your relationship with Jessica Taylor? She's a former colleague. For 6 months. I've been having a relationship with her. Emily's heart shattered. Why did she come to the house yesterday? I called her to break up. I didn't want to lose my wife and son. But Jessica said she was pregnant. Emily was stunned by Michael's words. She pressured me. She said if I didn't leave my wife, she would expose everything. When I refused, she became enraged. The next thing I knew, I was covered in blood in the car. Where is Miss Jessica currently? I don't know. When I woke up in the hospital, she wasn't there. At that moment, another detective entered the room. Detective, Jessica Taylor has turned herself in. She's fully confessing to the crimes. Emily sat down in the chair. Now that all the truth was revealed, her heart was complicated. Her husband's betrayal, her son's fear, and the reality that their family bond had been broken. Emily, I won't ask you to forgive me. But my feelings of loving you and our son are real. To Michael's words, Emily quietly answered. I can't say anything yet. I want to put Noah first. When she left the hospital room, Emily was reunited with Noah in the hallway. Her son was waiting, accompanied by his grandmother. Mom, is Dad okay? Dad will get better. But he has to stay in the hospital for a while. What will happen to us? Emily hugged her son. It'll be okay. Mom will always be with you. That night, Emily spent time with her son at her parents' house. The long day was over, and finally the truth had become clear. However, this was not an end, but also the beginning of a new life. The form of their family might change, but she vowed in her heart that her love for her son would never change. 3 months later, autumn deepened in Boston, and the street trees were dyed a beautiful golden color. Emily was preparing breakfast in the kitchen of her new apartment while reflecting on the events of these past months. Jessica Taylor was charged with assault and kidnapping and was currently serving time. The facts revealed during the trial were shocking to Emily. Jessica was indeed pregnant, but it was unclear whether it was Michael's child. She had been in a mentally unstable state and was obsessed with her relationship with Michael. Michael had recovered from his head injury and was currently separated. He deeply regretted his actions and had sent many letters of apology, but Emily still couldn't forgive him. The wound of betrayed trust was deep and wouldn't heal easily. Mom, I have a presentation at school today. Noah spoke brightly as he sat at the breakfast table. Her son was slowly regaining his smile while receiving psychological counseling. Emily was proud to see him show the strength to recover from that terrible experience. What kind of presentation? I'm going to read an essay I wrote about family. I wrote about you and me, Mom. Emily's heart warmed. What did you write about? I wrote that Mom is a nurse who helps sick people. I want to have a job helping people in the future too. Emily's eyes welled up at her son's pure words. She continued working at the hospital. All her colleagues understood Emily's situation and supported her warmly. The words, "thank you," from patients became the support for her heart. Emily, how are you doing lately? Her close friend Linda spoke to her during break time. I'm getting better little by little. Noah is doing well too. You're strong. I don't think I could recover if it were me. I'm not strong at all. I'm just trying my best for my son. Emily answered with a smile. What about the divorce proceedings? I haven't decided yet. Michael seems to want reconciliation, but right now I want to focus on life with just my son and me. In the evening, Emily went to pick up Noah from school. While waiting at the school gate, her son came running with his friends. Mom! I did great in my presentation. That's wonderful. What did your teacher say? She said it was a very wonderful essay. Everyone in the class listened to it. On the way home, Noah suddenly asked a question. Mom, when is Dad coming home? Emily stopped and looked into her son's eyes. Noah, Dad and Mom have decided to live apart for a while. But Dad loves you, and you can see him sometimes. It's not my fault, right? Of course not. You did nothing wrong. It's a grown-up problem. Her son nodded quietly. Mom, I want to stay with you. Thank you. Mom wants to be with you too. That night, after her son fell asleep, Emily was alone drinking coffee and thinking. Michael's latest letter mentioned that he was receiving counseling and truly regretted his actions. However, she still couldn't forgive him. Her cell phone rang. It was an emergency call from the hospital. Sorry, we have an emergency patient. Can you come in? I understand. I'll be right there. Emily left Noah with the kind elderly woman next door and headed to the hospital. When she arrived at the hospital, she attended to a family brought in from a traffic accident. There was a mother, father, and small child. Fortunately, they had only minor injuries, but the family was shedding tears of relief. Thank you. We're so grateful that our family is safe. Listening to the father's words, Emily once again felt the importance of family. She thought that even if the form changes, if there are feelings of love, it's still a family. When she returned home, Noah was sleeping peacefully. Emily gazed at her son's sleeping face while feeling hope for the future. The road ahead might not be smooth. However, she had positive feelings about the new life she would walk with her son. True family is not about blood relations or formalities, but about hearts that care for and support each other. Emily understood this deeply. Outside the window, the moon shone quietly. Believing that the new tomorrow would surely be filled with hope, Emily quietly fell asleep.